to others. When we are fully living, the reality of death becomes an appointment with destiny. Let me say that again.
Whoa.
Mhm. When we are fully living, the reality of death becomes an appointment with destiny.
One of the greatest problems in this world is this: the things that make us fully experience ourselves as humans, such as love, connection, compassion, and the understanding of our spiritual nature, are not taught in our schools. My name is Joseph Descents. I will be bringing to you 30-minute podcasts with spiritual teachers, leaders, and light workers. We will be looking into the four pillars of your life: the self, health and wellness, relationship, and finances from a spiritual perspective. Ready, set, let's go.
All right. Welcome to the 30-minute podcast. I am here today with my friend, my wonderful friend, Sarah Stockham. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Oh, Joe, it is so great to be with you again here today. I'm just so excited about the new topic that we're going to be discussing, and it is always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes. I know you have a lot of things to do. Thank you so much for taking this time out to just speak on this subject today. So we're just going to get right into it. So this is a big, huge subject. So we're talking about death today. So my first question about death is, how is it that death is one of the hardest realities for us to accept?
Joe, there are three main reasons that death is one of the hardest realities for us to accept and to come to terms with. That first reason is we do not accept the reality of death because part of us internally knows that we have not fully lived or that we are not fully living. And so you see, death, in fact, is designed as a privilege of those who have lived. If you take the case of Apostle Paul in scriptures, he talks about when he finished his mission, he was ready for death. He
Mm,
lived. He left his body in the earthly dimension as a completely empty cup. No wonder, he says, that he pours himself out as a libation or a drink offering in service to others. When we are fully living, the reality of death becomes an appointment with destiny. Let me say that again.
whoa.
Mhm. When we are fully living, the reality of death becomes an appointment with destiny. And that was the case for the Apostle Paul. And Paul
Mm,
goes on to say, I have finished the race. Now I must leave because a crown of glory is waiting for me. Because of his habit to experience multiple out of bodies, he even said that sometimes he's torn between staying here on earth
mm,
or transitioning to the other side to merge into the presence of God.
yeah.
When you are fully living and you are truly pouring your unique divine energy into everyday life, doing what you know you came to do, you are not terrified by the idea of death. So you see, the idea of death frightens us because we're busy making a living rather than living.
Mm.
Are you ready for the second reason, Joe?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Fabulous. The second reason is because we are not taught about death. We
Mm,
don't know where it's taking us.
that's true.
We're not even introduced to the concept of the afterlife. So we're not taught how to live because to teach the concept of death, we have to first know how to live. We are only taught and we only know how to make a living.
Mm,
So to live is, again, to pour out your energy into each moment of this lifetime with grace and intention in order to elevate your soul toward your highest calling and cause humanity to levitate towards love. That's what Paul did.
Wow.
So, what this means is if you ought to love, love now. If you ought to forgive, forgive now. If you ought to
Mm.
embrace, embrace now. If you ought to create an art, do it now. If you ought to dance, dance now. If you ought to start a business, start now.
Yeah.
Now is the acceptable time of your higher self to serve the world through you. And when we're busy living this way, Joe, we're not afraid of death. So I have a
Wow.
third reason. Can I go ahead and share my third reason with you?
No, please, please continue. Yes.
Absolutely. The third reason we have not fully accepted the reality of death is because we are having a hard time coping because Earth has remained a strange place to us until death found us.
Mm.
So, this is what happens. You see, we are getting older and approaching death, but Earth has remained a strange place to us. Death has begun the aging process in our bodies. We see it, we panic, we become frightened. And the reason Earth has remained a strange place to us, which means that we never discovered why we really came here. So here's the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
We remain strange to ourselves the whole time. But here is the succinct part. When we know who we are, we also know why we came here.
That's
The
right.
ignorance, I'll say that again, absolutely. When we know who we are, we also know why we came here. The ignorance of the first is the cause of the ignorance of the second. If you knew, Joe, that you were an extension of God who descended inside the physical body for a purpose, would you be afraid of death?
No, I
I,
wouldn't.
I absolutely agree with you. Of course not. But when a person believes that they are this physical body and that they're in this physical world, then
Mm.
they begin to see life as a place to indulge in carnal pleasures, and they see death as a punishment. Actually, they begin to see that everything that takes them away from any kind of pleasure is a punishment for that matter. And so these are the three reasons why we are having a hard time accepting this reality of death.
Man, I wish I could have used that when I was growing up. So I lost my father in 2010, right? And so my next question, right, this kind of leads into it because I wanted to ask this question as a kid, but now I get to ask it as an adult. So how do you fully prepare yourself for the loss of a loved one, right? Like that's a subject that's not really, fully explored, but like how do you prepare yourself for that?
I so appreciate this question because as we see ones around us who are aging and beginning to thin, so to speak, their energy is, and we know that that inevitable is coming, there is this sense of urgency of I've got to do something. What is it that I do? And
Hmm.
so there's also then this grasping of. So let me share with you. Let's just dive right into this. There are 4 mindsets to prepare ourselves for the loss of a loved one and a spiritual action we should take. Again, 4 mindsets and then 1 spiritual action as we fully prepare ourselves for the loss of a loved one. The first mindset is to prepare for the loss of a loved one, is to accept the idea that they are not going to live permanently in this physical body. And we should make peace of that idea in our mind. And there is a huge difference, Joe, between having an idea and accepting the idea.
Hmm.
So, accepting means the idea must stay in the awareness when you are with the loved one. And we should make peace with that in our mind. And that's the acceptance part. What this does is when you are with those people, you fully live in the present moment, and you value that time. You cherish it so well, you pour out your very best energy into it intentionally.
Yes.
And this, that elevates your soul towards your higher self, which causes their soul to levitate and move upward towards their higher self as well. So this is the first mindset. The acceptance is the combination of being mindful that these people are not going to be here forever, and then making peace with that idea.
Wow. Okay.
So here's the second of the four of them. This is to understand that, like every other soul, our loved ones are on a journey passing through the earth. We happen to call them different names. Our friends, we label them as parents, we call them children, coworkers, our family. But they are not for us to own. We believe that they belong to us, but they don't belong to us. And those titles are not their names. This is a soul that is passing through. I am here to enjoy being with them for a moment. And this mindset is huge. This third mindset is to free all our loved ones from any entitlement we should have towards them. This is why people will say, he left me or she left me, because they believe that they are entitled to that person's presence or their energy, which means that all of their life they have never produced their own joy or their own happiness. They rely on these people to consistently provide these things. And as a matter of fact, without judgment, this is a selfish behavior. For example, the belief that they are the source of our happiness and success, and without them, we won't be able to live happily or succeed. This is dangerous because you are forsaking your soul's agenda, your own soul's agenda.
That's right.
You're disconnecting from yourself and your highest purpose. If we don't free them from these entitlements, their departing, their passing will feel in our being like our life is over. And then it's just so easy for depression to kick in. The fourth mindset is to hold no toxic emotion towards anyone, especially our loved ones. Yeah, I agree with you. This is based on the first mindset of accept the idea that they're not going to live permanently in this physical body. Resenting a loved one and never getting a chance to forgive them and let go makes the grieving process very difficult and heavy and hard, because the ego uses the pain to create guilt and open the door to regret. So when we are with people, we must be in the moment and tell them how much we fully love them now. And this is possible because of the first mindset allows us to be fully present. So Joe, I said 4 mindsets and 1 spiritual action.
Yeah.
You ready for the spiritual action?
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
Absolutely. This spiritual action is to keep a handwritten journal, because you're going to be writing down the most good times that we had with these people. And you were talking a little bit about writing before we came on.
Yeah, we were just talking about this.
So share a little bit about what you were talking about writing.
Yeah, so I was saying the process of writing, it's an intimate process, right? It's the process of you and God creating, right? It's the process of, that's like the first, it's the start of manifestation. Like you literally just take it from your imagination to the paper. You just manifested. You just went into the motion of creating with the creator. So writing is such an intimate process. So what you're saying is right. It is good to have a journal, to write down the good times, because it does help you to release those energies. That's true.
Absolutely. And imagine if we were taught to write down how we felt
Mm,
during all of the wonderful memories that we had with our parents and closest souls. And then when they transition, we can pick up that journal and be able to read it and bring
mhm,
back that goodness into the moment. It's so much more than a photo album. This is an album of wonderful experiences. And as we keep it, it becomes a catalog of wonderful times together. And as you are saying, writing it down with our hand, adding the date to it, how we felt in that moment, how we felt being with our loves. Can you imagine being taught
mm,
that spiritual practice? Our mind, and this is the reason why it's important that I keep doing this, because our mind tends to wander and remember the bad memories.
it does. That's true.
We don't have a problem remembering all the bad things that happened between us and the souls that departed, or the
Hmm.
souls that are around us still. The only way to overcome those negative moments is to be able to go back into that journal, read all the amazing moments, allow that energy to flow through us at the cellular level.
Mm,
And then this practice is one that allows you to release any of the resentment. It's something that I encourage people to do. I recommend to my friends all of the time. Keep a journal of the good moments, because there are going to be conflicts in life. And this journal will help you, even if the other people are still living around you. This helps you in this space to go back. And again, as you are reading and remembering, releasing joy and enthusiasm into yourselves, the resenting energy just melts away.
wow. I really wish I would have had this knowledge when my dad passed away. It would have been a lot easier. But this is something that I came to learn over time. And so I thank you for sharing it. And I know that just helped a lot of people. So we're going to change gears now. I'm going to move into the next question. So this is big now. We're still on death. So how do we know for sure that there is life after death?
Wow, you're asking the big questions today,
Yeah,
Ben.
I'm coming hard today.
This is all, this is just so powerful. Let's look at 5 different areas to know for sure that there is life after death. And this is going to touch into some different philosophies for some people, but I truly believe that inside of these 5 that everybody's going to find several, if not all of them, that totally line up for them. So here's the first one: near death experiences. There are millions of death experiences where people come back and they relate how they were able to come out of their body,
Hmm.
see what was going on. Tons of stories about operating rooms and other places, right? And then they return back into their body. There are so many examples of this that there are just too many for us to refute and say that that's not true. Here's the second one: extra sensory perceptions.
Hmm.
ESP. Here again, thousands of cases where a seer or a psychic was able to channel or feel the energy of a departed soul giving precise information to a loved one that only the person who had transitioned or departed could possibly know. And there are documentaries where the police departments have used this information to solve crimes that would have never been solved otherwise. And here's the third reason:
Hmm.
for those who have a belief system that includes reincarnation, reincarnation is the third one. There are countless experiments and scientific research done, cases of souls who have returned and were able to tell of their past life name, where they used to live, who their parents were, where they were buried, and as well as how they lived. And the fourth reason is inside every single person at some level at least as a child, the fear of death itself.
Mm.
Humans fear what has happened to them before. And part of the reason that we were able to connect in so quickly with this fear of death is because we knew how painful it was the last time we disconnected from the human body. And here is the fifth reason. We know for sure that there is life after death because Jesus said so. After we
Mm.
die, we become like angels and we continue to live because God is the God of the living, not the dead.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. Wow. That was powerful. All right. So I'm gonna go to our last question. Right. This one's a big one. So sometimes it's hard to deal with death, especially the way it happens or it comes, right? Some people have lost it through lost people through accidents. Some people have lost people through sickness, etc. Right? So how do we help those people heal, right? Like usually they live with guilt as if it's their fault.
Oh, such a truly deeply penetrating question because we're coming to a level now of discussing karmic design.
Mm-hmm.
This is in the DNA of our being. Every soul leaves the earth differently according to their karmic design. Nothing happens randomly. And I know we don't like the idea of people paying for their karma, but the laws of the universe are impartial.
Mm-hmm.
Sickness, as well as accidents, are caused by energies we have been holding about ourselves and others, as well as life itself. So, what are the energies we are holding about ourselves, about others, about life? You see, those energies come out of us and release into our aura and then into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And the laws of the universe use what we are sending out, those signals, that energy, to create something called karmic design. The karmic design happens inside your body and then outside your body. If it happens inside your body, one will suffer sickness. If it happens outside your body, you talk about accidents, but the karmic design is identical in both situations. This totally makes sense if we use these examples. If someone is eating toxic foods and their body gets sick and they die, it's easy for us to say, of course, there's a cause and effect there, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
their karmic, their self-designed karmic experience. When somebody is drinking, smoking, choosing excessive behavior, and they contract a disease, it's also easy for us to see the law of cause and effect there, their karmic design. So when someone won't try another healing alternative, but chose to go one way with their sickness until they die, that too is their karmic design because they had a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had a choice in every single one of these situations. Now, science is also discovering that our thoughts and emotions create reality. And on average in a day, each of us has about 6,000 different thoughts. That's just an average day doing average things.
Mm-hmm.
If we send out, let's say, half of those thoughts into the universe, we are transmitting those ideas out, and half of those thoughts are toxic. Doesn't it make sense that accidents and misfortunes, through the laws of cause and effect and telepathy, could be the result?
Mm-hmm.
That too is karmic design. So we can meet people and say, oh, they're so nice, but we don't know their secret thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
No, we don't have the privilege to see and feel their secret their secret fears that they are putting out into the universe, that they are transmitting. Joe, I know that this is such a hard pill to swallow
It
because
is.
Yes, we all want to find reasons outside ourselves to blame.
Mm,
The idea that we can take responsibility for ourselves can be one that we want to shun. And so when somebody passed away, we only want to see them as angels. You see, when people come out of their bodies after they have departed, their spirit has a completely different understanding than what we have here. But for the sake of our own peace of mind, we must also understand how the universe operates with the laws, with every single soul impartially, to create their own karmic design. This is what each person needs to understand so they can find peace in the process of grieving when a loved one departs in an unfortunate or a sad way.
mm,
So there is a karmic design behind every event on earth. We just don't have the tools to unlock the mystery that reveals how the karmic design works. But deep down inside, we know it is true. Joe, I want to thank you so much for
oh man.
me to share some mindsets on the topic of grief and loss. And I just want to leave our listeners with this. You have the choice to start living your best life now, because now is the acceptable time of your higher self to serve the world through you. And this elevates your soul, which causes your loved one's soul to move upwards towards their higher self as well.
Wow, this has been an incredible episode. And like this is only part one. We still haven't even done part two yet. So stay tuned for part two, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. Thank you so much for all your enlightenment today. This has been the 30-minute podcast, and you have a great day. Thank you so much.